In the last week, we've also seen a backflip, an awakening, I don't know, U-turn. You can use whatever word you want to describe it. I'm fresh out. But suddenly all of the front pages, and we're talking front pages from around the world as well as here in Australia, were showing images of starving children in Gaza. It was leading the bulletins. Influencers were posting about it. We had some strong
They
language.
were crying. Influencers were crying as well on social media. It was really hard for them.
I didn't see that. We had Albanese using some strong language. Of course, I'm doing air quotes here. So something was going on.
Yeah, it was like synchronized sadness. There was this like collective shock, as though what we're witnessing was something new. But there was also at the same time, when it came to images of starving children, quite a bit of dishonesty and caveating and even both sidesing that started to creep through. That's before the Israeli ambassador press release and the Israeli denials came out about 48 hours later. But what I want to focus on first, what was out of the ordinary, was just like all of a sudden it was wall-to-wall coverage in places that had never spent much time on particular imagery or particular shock and sadness. And I scrolled, and if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see the scroll of my Instagram, and I screen recorded it because I was like, it's like they all decided at the one time. They all got on a global news conference call and was like, okay, guys, now we care about starvation. And it was just scroll after scroll, outlet after outlet, covering this. Even Mamma Mia felt compelled to drag itself out from its self-imposed exile of it's complicated. We are what all women are talking about, except not humanizing Palestinians. And this was the image that they shared on social media. And the caption read, "For the first time since the war began, dozens are now also dying of hunger," Palestinians officials say. So yes, there's the passive voice dying, not being killed. But quick little fact check, Mamma Mia.
For the first time since the war began.
Jesus Christ.
War is an interesting word. Let's just park that there for the minute.
So there's passive language use of the war, right? There's this kind of like the usual alarm bells. Between October 7 and October 9th in 2023, Israeli political and military leaders announced their goals, indicating like genocidal intent. There will be no food or water left. These are human animals. Yeah. Gaza has to be flattened, utterly destroyed. Then in December 2023, Human Rights Watch rang the alarm bell of starvation being used as a tool of war. And then the World Health Organization reported deaths in its report in June 2024 from acute malnutrition. And then again in December 2024, hundreds more died, according to the World Health Organization. This is the number one media company at a time when 70% of those who were
Number one media company for women.
For women in Australia. At a time when 70% of those who were killed are women and children. So it's cute to avoid the story for almost 2 years. And then when you finally come out, just lie. It's like, yay, women, yay, sisterhood. Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like lie is a strong word, but it's like very...
Well, what word would you use for it?
Well, I would just use like omission. I would use watered down.
Not
I would
watered
use
down,
caveating.
for the first time. Well, that is a bold-faced lie.
It's not true. It's not true. Yeah, it's just factually incorrect. It's not for the first time. All the human rights organizations have been warning about this for months.
We actually have reports of death counts as well.
The Age's front page on Friday for me stood out. It said Gaza's children are starving, and it had an image of, the Gazan mother with her emaciated child. And I saw that and I just felt it was galling to me to see that, because this is a paper that had spent the last few weeks just essentially denigrating protesters, calling them intransigent, telling them to stop doing what they're doing.
Calling them anti-Semitic and not...
Well, essentially like equating them with, the cause behind anti-Semitic incidents. But again, we've talked about those incidents, one of which was graffiti at a weapons factory.
But also, what were they protesting?
Well, exactly. When I saw this image on the front page of The Age, my first thought was like, those protesters that you've been denigrating for weeks, they're protesting this, right?
Yeah.
Like, that this is what they're protesting. That that's why they've been taking to the streets for years, for almost 2 years, every week protesting this. And now you've got it on your front page in some kind of like sanctimonious warning for people. Gaza's children are starving. Well, they're not starving for starters. They're being starved. So it was just like,
But
is happening.
The Herald's view was particularly telling. So it was starvation in Gaza is despicable and must be a turning point in this hideous war. Like, so the starvation that's been happening since late 2023.
Right.
And then just 1 month prior, in June 25th, a ruling shows a need for a truly impartial ABC. Antoinette Latouffe's victory over the ABC has exposed terrible misjudgment by senior management and opened the door to staff expressing political opinions.
Oh no, open the door to staff expressing political opinions.
About
I love this.
starvation.
The Herald's view a month ago, Antoinette Lattouf probably shouldn't have expressed her political opinion about starvation in Gaza. The Herald's view now, starvation in Gaza is despicable.
And it must be a turning point because we decided now, a few weeks later, that it was a turning point.
And not only is it despicable, only we can say that, actually.
Because
in the pages of our esteemed newspaper,
are
2
they
years
activists
later.
now? Are they activists now? It's also confusing.
Yes, does this make the Herald an activist newspaper? Can someone call Ita Buttrose so she can give us her assessment of whether the Herald is doing activism journalism?
Yeah, we need more vibe. It's the vibe, it's the Constitution, it's Ita Buttrose's take.
We'll never know. I also had another gripe with this kind of common language that I saw in a bunch of outlets, both internationally and in Australia. They're like, we can't look away.
But you have been, bro.
Yeah.
You're looking away real good.
Yeah. Oh, not only can't you look away, you can, and you do, and you have. So interesting.
Yeah, there was this. I shouldn't laugh.
No, you shouldn't. I can't.
This really breathless, sad face introduction from 10 News First Plus. It's the show that replaced The Project in recent weeks.
But we begin tonight with a story that, if we're honest, we know you might want to turn away from. But we're asking you to watch because we all need to know about it. There are many different views about the Israel-Gaza war, but tonight we want to focus on the kids. Children who have no choice, who have not picked a side, but who are dying because there is not enough food to keep them alive. Humanitarian groups say it's man-made mass starvation, and it's getting worse.
The caveating. Oh, the caveat. And we know that you don't want to, but my God, you can't look away. And also, we're not here to take a side, but also it's about the children.
And we don't know how they're being starved,
And
but
we
there's
don't-
just no food. And it's really terrible, but we're not picking sides.
We're not picking
But please
sides.
don't look away, even though
No.
we've been helping you look away for 2 years.
But we want to focus on the kids. Yeah, indeed. And why have we not focused on the kids these last 2 years? This is what spins me out. Like, what is it about this moment in particular that has everyone turning around when the kids have been? You know what I talk about? I got an image in my head now, a thought that I can't. That you know. Anyway, I'm going to try and just be cool and continue.
Okay, because we know, I can imagine what that image in your head is.
Yeah.
And also, like, well, starvation is bad, but, like, what about blowing their arms and legs off? Because Israel has created the largest cohort of pediatric amputees in history.
With the whole don't look away thing, I have been thinking about you a fair bit. And I don't think we've really discussed this in any, like, great detail. But for the media to kind of turn around now and say, don't look away, when you were unlawfully sacked from the ABC for posting
For looking.
about starvation in 2023, and now you have to see the media just hollering from the rooftops about how you shouldn't look away from starvation. Meanwhile, hardly any of them came to your defense when you did that 2 years ago. Like, what is the vibe?
It is the most hollow and depressing I told you so that should never had to have happened. And it's not over for me. I still have to go back to court in September for the penalty hearing to fight the ABC about how much they have to pay for all of their unlawful behaviour. So it's not over for me. Like, defending my right to amplify that children are being used and starvation was being used as a weapon of war in late 2023. Like, it was a fact then and it remains an appalling fact now. But my peers waited for it to be so widespread,
Yeah.
almost to the point of no return to cover it. Imagine if we all in December 2023, if all front pages of newspapers, if all journalists with social media profiles, if all influencers, if we all spread the horror and demonstrated the atrocity and how wrong it is and put pressure on governments, maybe it could have been stopped.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'm infuriated or heartbroken or despairing or all of the above, but
Do you know that's the worst aspect of it? Is I think that like if everyone had been vocal in the same way now, a year ago, a year and a half ago, could we be in a completely different place? And not only were they not vocal, they fucking fired you. And that just chilled the entire media industry. And all of the firings and all of the sackings and all of the silencing would have chilled so many people from so many industries. And now we're here. And that is just a fucking heartbreak, honestly.
Human Rights Watch had to come out, their headquarters in New York, and be like, hey, journalists, it's okay to share facts from us. Like human rights organizations had to then, because of the ABC sacking, then try and urge journalists to not be scared from reporting human rights facts. So it did have a chilling effect. It did contribute to this. And I will never fucking forgive the ABC for that. I don't care what penalties they're forced to pay.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. And I know that when you won the case, this was about a month ago, when you came outside the court and the statement that you said, again, was just a reiteration of the post that you made in 2023.
Yeah, so I deliberately made my statement very short and deliberately made it about starvation as a tool of war in 2023 and how it's still being used now and how it was a war crime. I wanted to give the media nothing else to quote me on as a way to force them to report it, as a way to force them to put it in, because I knew the story was going to be covered by everybody. Like that is the length I had to go to be like, hey, guys, it's still happening. And there was a mixed bag. I was like, I wonder who's going to cut out the line that it is now June 2025 and starvation is still being used as a tool of war. We see these children emaciated, skeletal, scavenging through scraps for food. And I went through and I had a look at who. So people would run the speech and then cut out that part.
No.
That it was still happening.
Who?
Okay, so The Guardian had a 3-minute social video and they removed the whole first part of where I talked about starvation. They only included it. I was punished for my political opinion. 9 News did include it in their package. So ABC 7:30 removed the June 2025 when I tried to bring it to the now, that this isn't some kind of faraway issue. It's still happening now. And I crafted this deliberately because I wanted to bring it to the now and I wanted to bring it to the facts of today.
So 7:30 had part of your speech,
And
but
then
not the part about
starvation happening now, in it being a war crime, that was taken out. And they have like a feature length, that's, you could argue, in a 1 minute 30 news package, you can only have so much, but we know that they have much more
7:30
time.
stories are much longer. Yeah.
And I, on social media, it was a mixed bag. And I know for a fact one major television outlet, a journalist who's come and told me because they were part of the argument, fighting with a senior producer who was trying to take that part out, but because I say it is a war crime to use starvation as a tool of war, fighting to have that and the fact that it was still happening in June 2025, so much so that they couldn't agree, and then they had to go to the senior, editor or whatever, EP's office and fight it out. And guess what? It was taken out.
No.
These are the outlets that are telling us we can't look away. A month later, there are reporters fighting to have my factual words outside of federal court kept into a story that was taken out.
I guess the question is like, what changes now?
Well, I feel like people are showing this outrage, and I hope, I know I'm going to sound like it's just kind of despair and despondency, but it feels like it's too late for so many. Like when malnutrition is so widespread and so advanced, most people will die painful deaths. That's if they're not going to be bombed. Or they'll never fully recover from the health complications. So, I mean, is it just an arse covering exercise?
Well, I mean, if you look at what the Prime Minister said, which is not much, it doesn't give you a huge amount of hope that something is going to change materially on the ground. He did sign a statement with a bunch of other countries using quote unquote strong language. I'm doing air quotes.
It was just a thoughts and prayers statement.
Yeah, but also I think the UK, France, a couple of other countries said that they were going to take action. They hadn't, but they were going to, and Australia didn't sign up to that pledge. So already we're getting the sense that Anthony Albanese is probably not going to do very much.